Hey, my name is Fred Valles. I'm here in studio with Ginny Marvin, also known as Ads Liaison. Ginny, of course, goes way back in the industry, so it's really good to have her here in studio, especially now that we've just seen all of the updates from Google Marketing Live. So, Ginny, thank you for being here. Thanks for joining us.
Very excited to be here, Fred.
So, Ginny, people know you as Ads Liaison, but I think one of the things that's really cool about you is you're not just a mouthpiece for Google. You've actually done a lot of PPC and digital marketing. So, for the people who only know you as Ads Liaison, give them a little bit of background.
Yeah, so background is I've been a digital marketer and been in digital advertising for 2 decades now, and been agency, in-house, consulting, and then was also the paid media reporter at Search Engine Land for 7 years, right, as enhanced campaigns came out for a flashback, and editor-in-chief there the last couple of years, and I was ready for a break, something new, and then Google called with the idea of this ads liaison role, which is meant to be a bridge between our advertiser communities and our internal ads teams to help bring feedback in and knowledge out and help answer questions and help people hopefully use Google Ads tools better and more successfully.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. It's a great role, and thanks for all you do in that. But yeah, since you brought it up, enhanced campaigns, let's go there for a minute. So what did Google learn from that experience?
That's such a great question. So just for some context for those who were not around during that time, it was Google's response to the consumer shift to mobile engagement. And marketers were lagging behind consumer behavior. And so the move then was to have everyone have to completely recreate their entire search account structure to be able to reach mobile, desktop, tablet, all in one campaign. And so it was needed in fact of the move to get marketers to go mobile and understand that consumer behavior, that I understood. The disruption that enhanced campaigns caused in terms of all of the work and mechanics and testing that needed to go into it was, as we all remember, was a lot. So I think Google, I obviously wasn't at Google then, but my guess, and from what we can see now, is that the way that new campaigns are being and new tooling is being introduced now is aimed at being less, sort of strip it all down and rebuild it.
Yeah, make the transition easier.
Yeah.
But I think it's an interesting historical anecdote because we're at that juncture again.
Yes.
But no, it's not mobile. And people joke, right? They're like, well, it was the year of mobile every year for 6 years in a row until it was really the year of mobile.
Yes.
And people were very resistant in the beginning because they like doing things the way they've done them before, and they just sort of, they see the change, but they don't think it's real.
Yeah. And I do also, to be fair also, it was real when you looked at your conversion reports and your campaign reporting and saw desktop is what's converting. It's not converting on mobile. So why should I be spending time and effort and money on mobile? So I can understand that. But again, it's sort of that lag of, are you not converting on mobile because your site is not optimized for mobile? Is it, are users understanding the customer journey? Are they starting on mobile and converting on desktop? But that mobile piece plays a really integral role in the journey. So it's kind of the same way where we are now, and consumers are really leading the way in terms of what their behavior is. But it's harder for marketers to see what that impact is on their bottom line and to start adjusting accordingly to be able to capture that new demand, new ways of searching or scrolling.
Right, and to be very explicit here, what we're talking about is the invention of the chatbots and the large language models, and how that's fundamentally causing a shift in how search is done.
Yeah, and I think, but also things like Lens and even circles of search on Android, and that multimodal search is a real thing and growing. And so what do queries look like in that context? Much more complex. And so how are you adapting to be able to capture new types of ways of searching and querying and engaging with search, YouTube?
Right. Yeah. And so we're talking about, as advertisers, we've been conditioned that the keyword is the main thing that carries the intent of the consumer.
Yeah.
And that's
changing. Not only keywords, but very short keyword phrases, right? So that also, we've already seen that evolution and being able to capture different types of queries, longer queries, and we've gone from the very short 2 to 3 keyword phrases, super easy to target those with 2 to 3 keywords in your account. But as queries change and evolve, that's where you've seen broad match, obviously, aimed at capturing that broader search queries.
Yeah. Hey, I know some people, they play a drinking game. They take a shot of something whenever Google says a word. Or the more fun one that I heard is people do a burpee. So hey, can we all do a burpee every time we hear the stat about 10% of searches are new? And
it's 15.
15. Is that still the case?
It's still the case. Yeah. It's still the case.
And this also kind of speaks to the whole fact that these queries are getting longer, more unique, because people no longer have to express it in 2 or 3 words.
Yeah. And I know that the 15% query can feel repetitive, but I think if you take a step back and understand and think about the fact that 15% of new queries are still new every day, and it's literally been like that for like a decade, that's pretty wild.
And I'm surprised it's actually not bigger now in the day of generative AI.
Yeah.
And I think we're headed in 2 directions, right? We're either seeing those very long conversational queries, and I don't know if we still call them queries or we start to call them prompts.
Right.
And and so there's also the thing that maybe we should discuss, but there's AI overviews in Google, which most people have seen at this point, but now there's also AI mode, which is another shift more towards that generative conversation. So it's not even just like, here's my long rambling prompt to get something, but it starts with that and then it goes deeper and you start asking follow-up questions. And how do you turn that back into a 2 or 3 word keyword? Well, you really can't, right?
Right. Yeah, and so I think one of the things that the teams are really looking at is how to infer intent within those conversations, and so that is obviously going to change sort of the landscape of how we think about our traditional way of targeting intent has been anchored in a query and in a keyword, and that will necessarily need to evolve again along with consumer behavior.
Right. And so for advertisers who hear that, obviously take a look at what happened in mobile, so get on board with that change. But should we be worried that Google's basically going to get rid of keywords, they're going to get rid of campaign structures, and overnight we're going to have this new thing that works in a new world and everything we've done for the past 20 years is gone?
No. So I think, so we'll talk about AI Max for search campaigns is aimed at helping address this new landscape of query methodology and modalities. And so I think this is also a really good example of how Google is listening to customer feedback about migrations and evolving their campaign structure. So for those who are not aware, AI Max for search campaigns is it's in beta now. It'll be rolling out starting soon, or maybe yesterday.
Depending when you watch it. It may be available now, but yes.
Yeah.
So it was pre-announced a couple of weeks before GML.
Yeah, pre-announced. So it has essentially a campaign setting in your search campaigns to one-click toggle on to enable a suite of AI-powered features. And so it's text customization, which used to be called automatically created assets, and query expansion, and final URL expansion as well. And then within that suite, there's customization to enable or disable those particular pieces. And then there are also additional controls. There's geo targeting at the ad group level. And that's interesting for a number of use cases. So for local businesses to be able to put the reach people both based on their geolocation and their geo intent at the ad group level, but also thinking about keyword lists signal. So you can put the geolocation at the ad group level, even if you don't have the geo in your keywords. And again, giving that signal for the on the keyword list function. So
and brand, you can do the same with brand.
And brand inclusion and exclusions are also supported. And it's also, I think this is another piece that's really important, is also compatible with campaign experiments. So you can enable this in a campaign experiment and test and see what the uplift is. And then on the reporting side, there are you're going to be able to see the search terms queries that come from SearchMax, and you'll also be able to, like the DSA now, you'll be able to segment and look at the assets that were generated and the landing pages that were used as well from AIMax.
Right, and then asset reporting is being expanded. Search terms seem to be coming to more places like PMax.
Yep. Yes.
So a lot of parallel efforts.
Yeah, so the asset level reporting is, and more metrics are coming to, PMax search. So you'll be able to see your asset metrics for your RSAs, and that includes cost metrics, and also for your responsive display ads in display campaigns.
And what do you hope people will do with this? It's a lot of data, like...
With AIMax or with the assets?
No, so AIMax, I think it's great how you're launching it. There's that first level, top level control, turn it on and off, and then you get all the details below it.
Yeah. And the important part is, so it's in your, like, you can enable it within your existing search campaign. So like, unlike enhanced campaigns, there is no need to rebuild, restructure. I think you can start to learn from that, what you're getting, and there's always opportunities probably to do some account consolidation and campaign consolidation if you're not thinking about that already. But apart from that, you can start just turning on AIMax and testing it within your existing campaign structure.
Let's go on a little tangent here. So campaign consolidation. We had a really interesting conversation yesterday with some of the product managers, and many of these were under NDA. We can't really talk about it, but here's one that we said we really need to talk about it, and that was to do with conversion events, primary, secondary, what goes into bidding. And I think that's one of the fundamental things that people think about when it comes to campaign consolidation. How do you get more conversions grouped together so that the system has enough to learn from? But then we're talking about account level, campaign level, MCC level conversions. So what's sort of the guidance on that to get the right information into the learning system to do the bidding correctly, but still allowing you to do sort of the campaign structures that correlate to your business goals?
Yeah, so I think certainly you want to lead with your business goals. What matters to your business should inform your structure, and that would be, if you have campaigns that necessitate different ROAS targets, for example, like that will dictate a structure. But if you look across your account now and have 5, 10 campaigns that essentially have the same goal, that could be an opportunity to consolidate under that one goal. So that's how I would think about that.
And so you consolidate those campaigns, then they can have a single conversion event associated to that campaign, or you can set it at the account level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. But I think there are obviously other reasons to segment campaigns, but if you are looking at from a goal-based standpoint,
Mhm.
I think that's the first lowest hanging fruit of being able to think about consolidation.
And so a lot of this consolidation then would happen because you want to just group things together. You want to consolidate the data, the conversion data. But what about an SMB? You don't have that many conversions. You don't have enough primary conversions to even drive the bid management system to where it needs to be.
Yeah, so I think that's where you want to be looking at what's your next lowest conversion event that is still giving you the signal about what's quality lead, probably, or if we're not talking about a sale, I'm probably talking about lead gen. What's the next lowest conversion event that gets the volume and signal of quality for you to be able to track, measure, and feed back into Google?
And that's where, if I remember correctly from the conversation, but there's types of conversion events. You need to set that correctly and not just pick one off the shelf, right? It actually does matter.
Yeah.
And then you have primary and secondary. Neither one of these is necessarily going to be used for bidding, but it tells Google basically what's a macro conversion and what's a micro conversion. So what's one of these intermediate steps that's good signal, but it's not the thing we want them to do. That should be your secondary.
Yeah.
And then there's a way that you can say this primary is also the one that I want to use towards bidding automation. Now, what I thought was fascinating was that this is complex and there's a lot of nuance to this, but set those secondary ones because Google wants to analyze that if there is lack of enough primary signal. So the way that you set this up actually will impact your bid management performance.
Yeah, and I think it's just another example of the more information that you can give Google about what matters to your business, the more the system will understand and be able to optimize accordingly.
And so I'll give you my take on it too, because I think initially these things might be built and the Google engineers are like, yeah, wouldn't it be great if we had like 15 levels of information? And then they ask the advertiser to put it in, but initially they don't use it, right? Maybe they only use 2 or 3. But over time, as machine learning gets better, as they have the ability to build more of these features in, they actually start looking at it. So I think my point would be don't get discouraged by initial lack of success from that.
Yeah.
And do take care to set it up the way Google intended, because at some point that is going to come to fruition.
Yeah. And I think also a good takeaway from that conversation yesterday was we at Google can do a better job of educating on that. So stay tuned.
So that's why we're here.
Yes.
Great. So you kind of get into AI Max, PMax. It was sort of funny because Google at GML last year, it was the Power Pair, the broad match with smart bidding. That was thrown out yesterday, and now it's the Power Pack. And so Power Pack, tell us what's in that.
Yeah, so last year, the Power Pair, we talked about search and PMax. And now Power Pack that we're talking about is PMax, Demand Gen, and search with AI Max enabled. So essentially taking the best of the AI enablement across these AI-powered campaign types and using them to drive performance.
Yeah. And so under search, it was sort of the AI Max toggle, which gives that the AI capabilities.
Yeah.
So that was interesting.
I just want to get ahead of concerns about what about display and standard shopping, and just say there are no plans to deprecate those. And you've seen that we are continuing to actually add support for new features or going into those campaign types too. So just want to get ahead of that.
Right. And so, yes, build a PMax campaign, but still maintain a display campaign, a search campaign, a shopping campaign as maybe your primary, or how do you think about sort of these levels of?
I mean, I think it depends on your business and what you're trying to accomplish with those campaign types. And I think the focus is really like there's optionality. You have the options to choose the set of campaign types that make sense for your business. Many people are using both Smart Shopping and PMax, and or display and demand gen, or so
Mix and match.
Mix and match. I think obviously the search with AI Max, PMax, and demand gen are all built with the AI at its core, and with the intention of being able to adapt, use the best in technology, and also adapt to where changing context and consumer behavior.
Right. Now, one of the frustrations with PMax has been, sure, it has good results, but you're just spending all my money on remarketing, or you're spending it on the brand on search, which is easy, and you're cannibalizing what I already had. So what's Google doing about that?
So the channel reporting that was announced earlier this month and is in beta will be rolling out to everyone over, I think, the coming month, maybe 2 months. That is specifically due to customer feedback. We are seeing results, but
where's it coming from?
Yes, and giving advertisers, one, the insights into what's performing and what is not, how channels are playing a role within their conversion journeys that they're seeing, and diagnostics for potential ways to improve performance. So there are a number of different layers within channel performance reporting. So there's the Sankey visualization that you can kind of interact with to understand how each channel is contributing to your performance. And then there's a more performance table that you're able to dive more deeply into the metrics. You can download that data, use it in other ways for analysis. And then the diagnostics piece to be able to see specific opportunities for improvement. So
makes sense.
Yeah.
So we asked for questions. So there's a couple of questions that came up from about PMax. So I'm going to ask those now. And we have Heidi Sturrock is asking, this is all great. She would love to learn more about the visibility into performance reporting regarding ads shown in AI overviews and AI mode. So it makes me kind of think a little bit about the whole channel reporting in PMax, and whether AI mode would be one of the things we can actually break out.
So AI mode and AI overviews will be grouped within search. So there won't be separate segmentation, but there will be insights on that in the search terms report.
Now let's talk for a minute about those search queries, because like you said, it's conversational. By the way, I think keywords are still limited to 10 words. Or did that go away?
I don't think it went away.
I think that's still the thing, right? Yeah. So even if you wanted to, you could not put in that 100-word keyword, nor would you really want to.
Right. Yes.
God forbid.
Yeah. It would. You'd still hit that. I'm sure you'd hit the low volume.
Right. Exactly. So so you have that issue, but what Google is doing, it wasn't talked about much, but it's a synthetic keyword. So can you explain what that is and how that fits into this whole longer query prompting, knowing when something is AI generated?
Yeah, so there's work being done on that. I don't have a ton to share on that right now, but that's something that's obviously being looked at in terms of how can we help marketers infer and understand how they're showing up in those types of modes.
Right. So since you can say, I'm going to speculate here and maybe make some assumptions, and you can set me straight or have no comment. But so I equate it to what we saw very early on Microsoft and Bing search results. You'd be interacting with the Copilot, and it would literally say next to the Copilot box, it was like, now searching for blah, blah, blah. And that was a distillation of what they thought that longer prompt was about. And so to me, that sounds like it's the synthetic keyword, because at the end of the day, the Google system is still built around keywords. So it has to be able, and even if it's a broad match, right, it has to go back to a foundational keyword to be able to pull the ads into the auction. And so that's where, again, my assumption, but you probably see these long prompts being turned into what's called a synthetic keyword that kind of corresponds, and that's what goes into the auction. All right, another question that came about PMax from Mariano Bilski. Are we going to get the same channel selection features for PMax as we've got for demand gen?
Yeah, so I've gotten this question a lot, and understand the why. I would say PMax is designed specifically to reach across all channels, and demand gen is where you can have the optionality to select the channels that you want.
Speaking of demand gen, Google came out with the 4S's, I guess, yesterday. Do you remember what those are?
Streaming, shopping, scrolling, searching. Did I say that
That's
right?
right, yeah.
Yeah. I don't think that was not the right order.
It was,
but,
it was not.
yes,
And I got the shopping one. I
streaming,
mistook
shopping,
yesterday.
scrolling.
No, it's search. I think it starts with search.
Yeah, yes.
I mean, it is Google, right? So search comes first.
Yeah.
No, but I thought that was interesting too, because that also then speaks to why you would want to have a demand gen campaign, because certainly scrolling is part of that experience that consumers want. YouTube, very big. So streaming matters.
Yep. And you'll see more, so the display campaign is now an option in demand gen. And I think you'll see some expansion on channel opportunities in demand gen. But again, it's really about that campaign type is making the most of your visual assets. So image and video, and driving mid to lower conversion funnel opportunities there.
Speaking of creatives and AI generated creatives, so we saw some pretty cool stuff at GML, but a question I hear from a lot of people, and here Gabriele Benedetti was asking it, so our friend from Italy. So to optimize images with AI is great, but if you work in e-com, you have a lot of them, obviously you have a lot of products. Is it coming to work with images and AI at scale?
Yeah, so in Merchant Center Generated for You is a new option that'll come out that will automatically generate images at scale based on your catalog. And you'll be able to then review, save, and publish those across Google in one click.
Great.
So yeah.
That's
Scalability is definitely a big use case here, obviously. And like, how can we help people do more and scale faster with their creatives?
And that's a big shift from last year when I think it was like a one ad group at a time or one product at a time. So that's going to help. But now we're even thinking about it's not just generate me an image, but generate me the video that goes along with it. So we have it on everywhere, right? And then what's Google doing in that regard?
So it's integrating VO into Asset Studio and in Merchant Center. So you'll be able to generate videos from your assets and publish them and use them. And
do we have to pay for tokens?
No. So I know that question came up as well. So these are, when they're built into your ads environment, you're able to use them and use them in your ads.
Great. A little anecdote on that. So there were some demo stations at GML. We saw a demo where you take a product image and then put it in a context that you can describe. And what was interesting is that the product manager on that said a lot of time had been spent developing that model. So it is built on top of what we all have access to. But how do you make sure that the product is not changed, that you maintain the logo in the place where it is on the pants or the headphones? And so that is really one of the key reasons to look at this Google technology, because someone's already done the hard work of making sure the product is not changed, as opposed to doing it through some other system. Yeah,
and I think we also announced yesterday that the image asset generation is now using Imagen 4, which is the latest model of the image asset generator. So it's exciting. And then, the other thing I wanted to mention is we were talking about Merchant Center is the ability to A/B test generated product images, or two different product images. So A/B testing for product images in Merchant Center, I know. That
is very cool.
Yeah, a lot of people were very excited about that. So just wanted to make sure people don't miss that.
My friends named their daughter Imogen, and they're not happy. Not Imagen 4. So let's go back to some AI Max questions because that is part of the Power Pack now.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. We had Craig Belcher is asking, he's played with AI mode since Google I/O the other day. He knows it's still being rolled out. You see fewer ads along with that. Will the ads be labeled so that the consumer knows, as well as for advertisers who might be doing their own research? What is an ad? What is a rich snippet link? Is there going to be an intertwining, layering through the rich snippets on both the AI mode results as well as the snippet references on the right?
So I think the question is, will ads still be labeled as sponsored in?
Yes.
Yes. Yes, the answer is yes.
Yes, so
Ads
that-
will still be labeled. Yes.
We still have to meet legal requirements,
Yes.
right?
And user expectations. Yes.
It's a good point. The users expect it.
Yeah.
No, but and that's also a funny point that I was discussing with someone earlier today, that the reason ads on Google have done so well is that Google saw ads as information and not as intrusive things. And so with AI, sure, we still need to know what an ad is, but if it's a helpful experience, like ultimately the consumer probably doesn't care if they've been directed in the where they get the benefit from it. So
Yeah, I do think relevancy and helpfulness is like the key underpinning of the entire Google Ads system. And I think one of the really interesting things with AI overviews and AI mode is being able to predict and understand intent, even from what would traditionally be seen as informational queries. And so that's where you see the examples of us showing product ads in a higher level kind of research query, because we can understand that you're probably going to be in market for a related product to whatever you're or service to what you're searching for.
right. And so I think this is going to be a challenge for advertisers, because if you look at a singular query, synthetic keyword, single prompt,
Yeah.
you may say, well, that looks like an awful place to show my ad.
Yes.
But you don't know what was before that. You don't know the
Right.
context.
Yeah, and I think this is so important because it really is a mindset shift of going beyond the I'm trying to find this bottom end of the customer journey query, and for the last 20 years I've known exactly what that query is. And now that the journey is evolving and it's more complex. I know we say that a lot, but it is. And as we have AIs able to understand more and ingest more signals about what the consumer is doing, looking for, and can serve ads in those moments that otherwise previously would have been not felt helpful or relevant. So yes, for marketers, that's a shift. That's a mindset shift that, when you're looking at those query reports and you're going line by line thinking this isn't relevant, just taking a step back and understanding that there's likely more at play for the reason why that ad got matched to that query.
Yeah, there's interactions, there's nuance in the journey, there's things you might not know.
Yeah.
Now, you as the advertiser don't know, but the AI often makes guesses too. I mean, that's what it does. It makes predictions with a confidence level.
Yeah.
And sometimes the confidence level is not very high. So one thing that was announced yesterday or at GML was smart bidding exploration. And I personally thought it was really fascinating because they position it as it's the biggest improvement in automated bidding technology in more than a decade. But at the same time, people look at it and so it's basically a toggle. You can say, for my TROAS bid, you can make it 10 to 30% more aggressive to help me get more conversions. Why is that different from having new broad match keywords, broader matching, or how's that different from just raising your bid?
Right. Yes. Great question. And this is one of those things that seems sort of minor, but on the back end is a really big shift and move forward. So smart bidding exploration is, as you mentioned, it's for TROAS. If you're using ROAS targets, lead gen or online sales goals, and broad match, DSA, AI Max. So turning this on, you're essentially giving the system added flexibility to find more conversions within your existing reach, in your existing targets. So it's not changing how broad match is working, and it is allowing the system to sort of go after a broader set of queries that you might be missing out on bidding for otherwise, because your initial your campaign ROAS target will tend to find the conversions from sort of the bulk of queries that you're matching to. And what smart bidding exploration does is it gives it more flexibility to go after a broader diversity of search categories, is how we'd think of them, in your existing targeting, if that makes sense. So it's sort of going after more fish in the pond that you're already fishing in.
Yes. So the query diversity is important because you're not putting all your eggs in one basket, in a sense?
Yes, and I mean, it is because you're not changing your targeting, but the flexibility will allow you to bid more competitively on that set of queries that you could already match for but are missing out on.
Right. And let me try to give a technical explanation on that. So you have a universe of queries for which your ad would be eligible based on your targeting, your broad match, your DSA, your AI Max. Now, you've set a TROAS target, and that TROAS target means that Google, its AI, makes a prediction about what is the likelihood of the conversion at the price that we have to pay to get that. Now, some of these things, it doesn't have high confidence that it's making the right decision. And it says, well, I'm not sure, but I think we can't afford to bid on this thing. It's just not going to convert at the TROAS that you need. So it doesn't show your ad. Now, what can you do as an advertiser? You can say, I'm going to raise my TROAS targets, or I'm going to lower them so my bids become more aggressive so that I actually have a chance to get those searches. But in doing that, you're raising your bids across everything, even the high confidence things where Google already knew exactly how it's going to convert. Now you're also getting that lower return on ad spend, and that's not desirable, right? You want the stuff Google knows that you already know, keep it at the ROAS you want. The stuff where Google is not certain, that's where you're saying, okay, you can have 10, 30% more to test it out and build a higher confidence level to say that either, it really doesn't convert at the rate that we thought it needs to, so we'll bring it back and we'll get rid of it. Or they test it out and now you get good results. It's got higher confidence of what it needs to bid, and that becomes part of your query diversity, and you can actually start showing on it.
Yeah, and oftentimes it'll be sort of the lower volume queries that there might not have been enough data. So that's where it's also looking at those categories, and you'll be able to see the performance in the bid strategy report, and dig in on the unique search categories, and it'll kind of be able to give you a sense of what that expansion is looking like.
Yeah, interesting.
Or exploration, I should
So
say.
I'm excited to see what that one is. And again, I recommend people definitely do try that out and give feedback on it.
Yeah, and that's another one that's also compatible with campaign experiments.
Great.
So,
no, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Use campaign experiments.
Yes.
All right. So I think we had a couple more AI Max questions. So Natalia Lopez was asking, exciting. I would love to know a bit more about AI Max and what the expected best practices are. For example, does it work well with all types of keyword matches, or does the campaign need to have broad match? So I know we've kind of answered that, but what about non-broad match? Would it actually do anything with phrase match? No, right?
Yeah, it's broad match.
It has to have broad match, AI Max, or DSAs. So and then in terms of best practices?
And the same with smart bidding exploration.
Right.
Yeah. And so can I just go back on the smart bidding exploration while we're
Please.
talking about this? So a couple things to keep in mind for this is, again, you need to be using TROAS as your bid target. You need to have ROAS targets. You need to be using broad match, at least some broad match. I think like half of your campaign or so should be broad match or DSA or AI Max for search campaigns. And your budget needs to be unrestricted because you need to be able to give that system flexibility. So if you're using a capped budget, which isn't recommended anyway if you're using ROAS or CPA targets, because you're really using those targets to help, that's your spend management lever. So you'll see an error or a warning if you try to enable smart bidding exploration with a capped budget.
Another question on AI Max. Sophia was asking, she asked about experiments, but you've covered that, so you can turn this into an experiment. But she also said, is there a specific number of conversions needed for AI Max to work best?
No, but again, I think that goes back to our conversation about like looking at your campaign structure and as much consolidation as makes sense for your business to help fuel the AI learning is the best.
So it's still the general best practice. You know, we've run studies at Optimizer and we see 30, 50 conversions. That's when things really start rolling really well. But this is there's not introducing anything different from how that's worked in the past. All right, we've covered a lot of ground, but we haven't talked about measurement.
Yeah, which is exciting.
And look, we got this is the data guy. We don't have the data girl T-shirt,
I know,
which I hear they have as well. But so the data guy yesterday, Gaurav.
Yeah.
So he announced a number of exciting things. The ones that I sort of picked up on was the data manager standardization of the alphabet soup. When they said alphabet soup, I was like, wait, Google's alphabet is now making soup? But he literally meant the jumble of acronyms that all have their own API, OCI, ECL, Gclid, Gbraid, all of that stuff seems to be getting standardized into a new data manager API that should be easier to use. And then incrementality testing. So I'd love to talk about those.
Yeah. So on data manager, I think this is something that is so helpful for businesses of all sizes to be able to more easily bring their first-party data in to Google Ads. And so it's right in Google Ads. And a lot of integrations that are just, again, make it just so much easier to centralize your data, bring that data into your ads account to inform measurement and bidding.
Great. So that's data manager. And then let's prove that all of these new things that Google is doing work.
Yeah, so the incrementality testing. So think brand lift, search lift studies that have typically taken a long time and significant budget. So we have introduced Bayesian modeling to our incrementality testing. So it allows us to understand and find statistical probability on your incrementality, search lift, brand lift. For example, we've lowered that minimum experiment budget to $5,000. So that's the $5,000 for the length of the experiment.
Can it really work at $5,000?
Yeah.
That's great.
So yeah. So
try it out. So there's the incrementality testing.
And in faster time too. So I think as short as a week to 28 days. So.
Right. I think they were saying minimum 7 days, maximum 56, ideal at 28 days. Mm-hmm. So multiples of a week.
Yeah.
So the incrementality test. And there was another interesting stat that like close to half of marketers don't use MMM, data attribution, and incrementality testing. So Google is really trying to make it easier to make these things accessible, maybe because it makes sense that, I mean, even with Meridian, it's not easy to set up, right?
Yeah, I mean, so I think that's an area that'll be interesting to see. But yeah, so the thing with Meridian that is open source. So if you have a current MMM model that you're using, you can, choose the pieces of Meridian that you want to integrate into your own system, or you can build from your own mixed model from Meridian as well.
Right, and I think there's a number of partners that Google has
Yes.
that will help with that.
Yeah.
No, and then as far as the data manager API, so what I'm excited about is that as the measurement landscape evolves due to regulations and just new technologies coming along, the vision is that you integrate with a single endpoint and you start layering more information through that same endpoint. But it's not like, hey, we got a new technology, you got a new API that you need to connect into. So a lot of because bigger organizations, obviously, this is not easy to put a new endpoint in. So
Right. Yes. I know I was talking to somebody yesterday and having flashbacks of own in-house experiences of integrations and the time it can take. So yeah, this is all aimed at trying to make that entire process simpler, easier, faster.
Okay. So I would say that one really matters for lead gen businesses. Because sometimes you go to GML and lead gen is like, oh, you didn't have anything cool for us. And look, the shiny stuff, the videos, the images, that's all e-commerce, right? But that's just how e-commerce works. I think there was exciting stuff for lead gen. But you also have to do the fundamental things, right? And when we often look at how many people still don't communicate conversion value or quality in any way, like, okay, do that first and then start worrying about the shiny stuff.
Yeah, I think that it's so important. And that kind of measurement foundation and data foundation when you're in lead gen, again, going back to the idea of what do you know about your business? What is the conversions that are, and the customers that are most valuable to you? And giving Google that information to be able to optimize and find conversions that are going to be valuable for your business. So that is so important. That is such a key foundation to having successful lead gen campaigns.
And what about small businesses? What was announced at GML you think that matters to them?
So there were a couple of on the Agentic side that I think are going to be really interesting for businesses and agencies of all sizes, but especially for small businesses. Oftentimes you've got one person or the business owner themselves are managing their campaigns. So the conversational experience in Google Ads, being able to use prompts to set up your campaigns, that's getting more agentic. And then the marketing.
And before we go deeper here, like, what does agentic mean to you?
Mean to me personally? No.
Well,
yes.
Well, let's go back. Like, what does programmatic mean? Half the time when I speak to someone, they're like, oh, yeah, scripts, that's programmatic.
Right.
It's like, no, that's technically not the right definition. So I think we got this new term out here, agentic. So what is that really?
It's the idea of having the system be able to do tasks for you. And that can mean within one system or, as we're going to start seeing more, being able to do multitask across different entities and basically get tasks done that you ask it to.
Right. And so these tasks are not necessarily limited to things that have API connections. They could literally be, there's a bot that goes to a website, clicks buttons. It could be a bot that makes a phone call to a human to do something.
Yeah.
Eventually, it'll be robots that walk to the store to pick something up.
Yes. Well, and we saw at GML the being able to tell Google, find me this. I like this dress. I tried it on virtually. Looks great. Let me know when it hits this price and then go buy it for me.
Right. So it's also about constant monitoring. It's not about you initiating the task. It's just doing it for you constantly.
You've got a little agent in the background that you've instructed to do a certain task.
And this then leads back to another conversation we had with product management at Google yesterday, which was, how does the agent know that the price has changed? Because nobody can check the price every second. It's too many resources. So they reminded us it's about your feeds. Make sure we know when your feed has changed. Make sure we get reliable data from you, the person selling that dress, so that our agents can be pinged and, hey, the dress is now at a different price. Go check. Is it the price they wanted? And then continue.
Yeah, and I think that also just speaks more broadly to data freshness, that your website being updated, your feed being updated and accurate, as you're sharing your conversion data, your customer match lists, all those data sources just being as fresh as possible.
Yeah. Great. So, and for those of the people who didn't watch it, but the demo by Celine Song at GML was great. It was her speaking to an agent. The agent figured out the tracking pixel wasn't installed. That's why there were no conversions in the campaign. And then she said, can you go and install it? And I was like, yeah, it looks like you're using Wix. I'm going to go grab the code from Google. I'm going to log on to Wix. I'm going to install it. I'm going to check it. Did all of that. Done.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool future. And, me at Optimizer, I got my work cut out for me. But yeah, we'll be building in that space as well.
Yeah, I think, it's going to open up a lot of opportunities for so many people. And I know we were having this conversation yesterday, but, sort of the idea of what does this mean for our roles? What does it mean for marketers? And I really just see the fundamentals of marketing are just becoming more and more important. They're not, the idea of you need to reach an audience, who your audience is, you can know what your brand is, what's going to make your brand stand out. Those pieces of marketing are still absolutely critical.
Yeah, I agree. Knowing the right promotion. And I think this is also a lot what these signals that Google is giving are about. So what are the search themes? What are the channels that your PMax is running on? It's not about saying I'm going to exclude or include or just bid differently, but it's also about why isn't my offer resonating with this segment?
Yeah.
Is it something about the way I'm positioning it? Is it maybe the price? And so all of those things you can put your strategist hat on, but rather than pushing buttons, you tell your agent, hey, go and fix this or go and try it out. It was a beautiful video too in the GML where a more junior employee was being talked to by 4 different more senior people, and they were like, do this, do that, do that. And I was like, oh my God, in the normal world, she could never do that.
Right.
But now she handled it in an hour and actually had great results. And now I know that was a demo video, that wasn't real, but that's sort of the future vision.
Yeah, I think so. And I, still to do that, you need to have the fundamentals to have the right prompts for those kinds of, to get the output that you need.
So if you're a more junior person coming into digital marketing, get your fundamentals right, think like a marketer. Is there anything else you would advise to them?
I think and part of that also is understanding your data, and understanding what matters to your business. What are the metrics that are going to matter to your business? Understanding the the role that marketing is playing within the broader organization to drive growth or profit is really important.
Andrew Lolk also came into studio before, and one of the things he talked about was that after COVID, nobody was doing in-person client meetings anymore, and they said we need to get back to that. And then giving examples of, you work or you walk the factory floor or the delivery floor, and you just start picking up on these insights about the business that you can take back to marketing and actually do something with.
Yeah, and I think we don't talk enough about, or I don't think we do, about you talk to all your cross-functional teams. It's sales. They have so obviously, usually your marketing sales teams are tightly integrated, but talking to individual sales reps, what are you hearing? What are the kind of conversations you're having? What are the objectives, objections that you're hearing from customers? Those are just such valuable nuggets for marketing fodder.
And they're valuable nuggets, but we're all too busy to get them. So that's where you look at Gemini, you look at Vertex, you start building systems. You pick a tool that already exists that listens to your sales call meetings, that listens to your customer support meetings and summarizes it, says these are the most important trends. this is where we're seeing a shift, things that people now talk about they didn't before.
Yeah.
And that really informs the direction of a product company like mine. But any company can really benefit from that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's being able to take those insights at scale. I think that's great. And I do still also think those individual conversations can be super helpful as well.
And so we're talking about people talking to people. It's also often said people buy from people. So where do influencers fit into all of this?
Great question. I think, so we have not talked about the Creator Partnership Hub that was also will be rolling out. And when it is available in your account, it'll be under Tools. And the whole point of this is to make it easier for businesses of all sizes to be able to find and partner with YouTube creators and influencers.
And that's cool, right? Because the other points I was having conversations to people about yesterday, but it's about authenticity. And as so much becomes not necessarily inauthentic because it's generated by AI, but there is a level of if you couldn't bother to write it, why should I bother to read it?
Yeah.
Whereas if it's an actual human influencer who's spending some time making a video, using the product, talking about why it matters to them, there's still something there that connects at a more authentic level for humans. So it's certainly going to, I think, become more important.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think obviously, creators have the authenticity, they have the trust, they have reach within their audience. And so in that hub, you'll be able to basically search for videos that may already mention your brand from creators and reach out to partnership with them to boost those. And you can also find creators relevant to your business, keywords or genres, and then look at their reach, their demos, pricing, potential pricing information to partner with them. And then once you do reach out to them, partner, link their videos in your account, then you'll be able to see both paid and organic performance results from those videos.
Let me take you on one more tangent here, if you can. So Will Reynolds from Sear and I, we have a massive disagreement on the future of landing pages. So I've said, and you're going to have to pick sides here.
Oh, no.
But I said landing pages are dead. And I really believe that because with agents and chatbots, the consumer is having such a great experience chatting to them, figuring out what they want to buy. Why do we even still need landing pages? What am I missing?
So I'm not going to pick a side on that. I still think there's value in a landing page, but I also, to your point, think that there are going to be experiences beyond the landing page. So I would say if and.
Yes. Well, no, and it's interesting because, I mean, I do believe landing pages will still have a place for deeper purchases and like higher consideration things.
Yeah.
But honestly, if I figure out this is the running shoe I need, like, why do I still need to go and look for the place to buy it? Why do I still need to go through your site to check out? That just makes no sense. It's not a good user experience.
Yes. No, I completely agree with you. And I think like the shopping experience we just saw at GML, I think that's a great example of just show me. Yeah.
But that's Nike. Just do it.
So I do think that those experiences will continue to evolve and inform what a website looks like. Yeah.
And one interesting thing that then came out in conversations as well was, okay, so you talk to your agent, your chatbot, you tell them, I have a pronated foot, I have this shoe size, this is the brand I like, and you get to the point where it's like, okay, this is the shoe for you. We know what you need. And then it hands you off to maybe a landing page, maybe another site, and it's and now their bot comes in and says, Fred, tell me about what you need. And I'm like, but I just went through that whole thing, right? So how do you pass that on in a privacy-sensitive manner? I don't think anyone has and I'd love if you have an answer, great, but I don't think we have answers to that. But I think we're at a point here again where go along for the ride, find a trusted partner like Google. Don't assume they have all the answers, but be willing to sort of come along on that new journey as the way the world searches and finds things is shifting, and find those partners who are there with you with the same underlying goals, because nobody's going to tell you how to do it. You have to help us figure it out.
Yeah, and it doesn't come without points of friction, obviously. That, I think in some cases that's going to be a necessity to have points of friction. But yes, to your point, I think start exploring, start experimenting, start researching, and have an open mind and think about what the consumer experience is, what they're expecting, and try to meet them where they are, which I know is a sort of flat thing to say, but that I think is what needs to drive your strategies moving forward.
Well, I think you've brought us back to the key point here, which is things are shifting. Try to do the right things, and hopefully, I know people will have learned a lot from all of your answers. So thanks for being in the studio here with us today and sharing all of your expertise and all the work you do as Ads Liaison across all the social media platforms and facilitating the meetings and making sure the product team at Google knows what to do. So thank you, Ginny.
Thank you.
And then obviously if people want to find out more about you, Ads Liaison on all the social medias.
Yep. And or Ginny Marvin I'm Ginny Marvin on LinkedIn and Reddit, and then Ads Liaison most everywhere else.
Great. And with that, thank you all for watching. If you want to see more content like this, or next time we bring Ginny in studio, please subscribe to this channel. And also put in the comments if there were other questions, because I know Ginny's very active and we'll take that to heart and try to answer those. With that, we'll wrap it up here. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you for the next one.